I want to have a look at how we can add integers using a number line. And so we're going to start with a very, very simple problem. We're going to add 3 plus 4. But I actually do want you to draw this number line from 0 to 10 and write 3 plus 4, because obviously we know the answer is going to be 7, but I want us to practice doing this on a number line, because a number line is going to be the easiest way to do integer problems in math. So go ahead and pause the video, draw this number line, and then we're going to work the problem together. Okay, I hope you've drawn the number line. Here's how we add using a number line. The first number, which in this case is 3, is where we're going to start. So go to positive 3 on the number line, and what we'll do is I'm going to put a blue line right here. You can use a highlighter or just draw a big line with your pencil. We're starting at positive 3. And since we're adding 4, that means our number is getting larger by 4. And of course we know larger numbers go to the right. And so what we will do is we will draw our number 4 spaces to the right. Some people use arrows. I sometimes actually use little humps. I go positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, and then I'm going to put my point right here. We started at 3 and we added 4. You can think of this as start at 3 plus 4 means right 4, and we end up at 7. We know that 3 plus 4 equals 7, but that's good practice because we're going to add including negatives, and that'll make things a little bit easier. So let's try one now that involves some negatives. Okay, so the next problem I want us to do is I want us to try negative 2 plus negative 5. And something you're going to see frequently, you see here, is that when I added negative 5, I put the negative 5 in parentheses. That's just so we can tell that this is plus and then a negative. It's not necessary to write it, but most books do it because it's actually simpler to write it that way. And so I'd like for you to be in the habit of writing that way just like I am. So go ahead and draw you a number line. Notice mine goes from negative 10 to 0, and write down the problem negative 2 plus 5. Pause the video and do that, and then we're going to discuss how to do this on the number line. Okay, I hope you've taken the time to write that. Now, just like when we added with positive integers, we're going to start where the first number is. The first add-end, an addition problem has 2 add-ins and a sum, and the first add-end is negative 2. And so I'm going to mark right here at negative 2. That's my starting place. And this time I'm adding negative 5. Now, if when we added a positive, we went to the right, then you've probably guessed that when you add a negative, you actually go to the left. And so we're going to go left 5 spaces. We're going to go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7. And probably a lot of you have noticed that means if we add 2 negatives, it's really going to have the same absolute value as adding 2 positives, but our answer is going to be negative. So we started left 2, we went left 5 more, so we ended up 7 to the left of 0. Negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7. But we want to be careful thinking about rules or thinking we can just add the numbers, because now we're going to try 2 problems that actually add positive and negative integers together, and we're going to find that they work a little bit differently. Okay, so now I want to take a look at a problem. You'll notice this time my integer line goes all the way from negative 10 to positive 10, because we're going to be dealing with the positive and negative sides. And so the problem I want to give you now is actually going to be positive 7 plus negative 4. So go ahead, draw your number line, and write down the problem 7 plus negative 4. And then after you've paused the video and done that, start it back and we'll work the problem together. Okay, so we're going to start at positive 7. Just like we've been doing, we'll go to 7, and here is 7 right here on the number line. Okay, and this time though we're not adding positive 4, so we're not getting further from 0. We're actually adding negative 4. And so if we're adding a negative 4, the negative numbers go to the left. So we start at 7 and we go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. When you add a negative, you always move to the left. And when I count that, I actually find that that spot is positive 3. And so we are going to say that 7 plus negative 4 is 3. and I'm sure probably some of you have figured this out, that adding a negative is really the same thing as subtraction. 7 plus negative 4 is the same thing as 7 take away 4. And so 7 plus negative 4 equals 3. So let's try one more. Let's write it down together. The last problem we're going to work is actually going to be negative 4 plus 7. And I was wrong when I said one more. I wanted to do one more this way, and then I want to do some that get negative answers. This will be one more with a positive answer, actually. But go ahead, using what we know about negatives and positives, draw a number line. And I want you to pause the video and not just draw your number line, but go ahead and figure what you think negative 4 plus 7 should be. When you're done, you can hit play, and we'll see if we have the same thing. Okay, if I wanted to do negative 4 plus 7, I would start at negative 4. I take my first add in, so it'd be right here at negative 4. And this time, since I'm adding a positive number, we could say that negative 4 plus 7 is the same thing as negative 4 plus positive 7. When I don't write a sign, that just means it's positive. And so I'm going to go to the right 7 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I actually end up at positive 3. So negative 4 plus 7 is positive 3. Now let's try something that give us a negative answer. Our next problem is going to be negative 6 plus 2. And we know that negative 6 plus 2 is going to be the same thing as negative 6 plus positive 2. And so go ahead, put your number line, write down our problem, and calculate what you think negative 6 plus 2 would be. Okay, I hope you've taken the time to do that. We're going to start at negative 6. This is negative 6. And if we're adding a positive, that means we're going to the right. So let's go to the right 1, 2. And this should give us our spot to negative 6 plus 2. And we actually find that this spot is negative 4. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. And I like to think about this like a tug of war. If we add a positive and a negative, they're pulling different directions. And so the negative pulls 6 to the left and the positive pulls back 2 to the right. Well, if you think of that, if the negative number wins the tug of war, or if it has the number with the larger absolute value, the answer is going to be negative. When we did 7 and negative 4 earlier, the answer was positive 3. It was the difference in the numbers, but the number with the larger absolute value wins the tug of war. And in this case, negative 6 pulls further to the left than positive 2 does to the right. So we shouldn't be surprised that our answer is a negative. It's negative 4. And it would be the same thing if I did it like our last problem, which will be 2 plus negative 6. Now probably you're already noticing that this is the same problem. Negative 6 plus positive 2 and positive 2 plus negative 6 are the same thing, but it's just coming from a different direction. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. If I said 2, and here's 2, plus negative 6, I would go 6 to the left, and we should get the same answer, and you'll find that we do. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left, and so we can say that 2 plus negative 6 is also negative 4. And so the key thing is, when we have the same sign, we're going to pull the same direction. So 2 negatives are going to give us a negative that's even further from 0. 2 positives will give us a positive that's even further from 0. That's why we can just add the absolute values. But with negatives, we're pulling different ways, which is why it's just like subtracting. And the number with the larger absolute value does pull harder in the tug of war, which is why when the negative is larger, the answer is negative.